Welcome back. Transport Minister Guy Joseph says following the announcement that drivers of the Vieux Fort to Castries route and Soufrière to Castries routes plan not to resume public transportation services, his administration has wasted no time to begin discussions on the way forward for all stakeholders.
The Vice President of the National Council did consult me on it and indicated their concerns. As soon as we are done with Parliament, I would be having some discussions with them.
The minister says as the nation continues to grapple with the COVID-19 pandemic, the Ministry of Transport will do its best to ensure the availability of public transportation. Prime Minister Allen Chastanet has indicated that the matter of government subventions to keep entities afloat is problematic. He confirmed that there is again no subvention for the St. Lucia National Trust and says even the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College needs to get its house in order and not be solely dependent on government support. Genevieve Gonzague reports.
Prime Minister Allen Chastanet highlighted the strain of providing subventions on the finances of the government. He has called on institutions to step up and become more self-sufficient as opposed to being heavily dependent on the government subventions.
Any entity that is a custodian of a critical component of this country must perform.
The Prime Minister drew reference to the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College as having the potential to stream enough revenue without needing the government's help to pay salaries.
Sir Arthur has been subsidizing the cost of education, and persons are not appreciating the level of subsidy. As I've said, the government subvention of $15 million means that government is contributing $7,500 every year towards each person's education. And locally, persons are only paying $1,500 to $2,000. Those numbers don't add up, but you would go now to, what's the university called? The other one that's here, Monroe College, and pay how much? But your own institution, you don't want to.
Prime Minister Chastanet says the same principle applies to the National Trust as the institution has a dual role, one that involves protecting the historical patrimony of the country and the management of sites. He made it very clear that a financial allocation has not been made to the National Trust because according to him, the institution has failed to perform when it comes to the streaming of revenue from the management of sites entrusted in its care. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
Castries South MP Dr. Ernest Hilaire is questioning why the government chose to move forward with laying the estimates of revenue and expenditure amid the COVID-19 crisis. He says what was presented by the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance was an election budget and an unrealistic one at that.
It's an elections budget. Yes, Mr. Speaker, an elections budget. This is what this represents. And in the context of the COVID crisis, it is entirely unwise, unnecessary, and unrealistic. Surely, an elections budget cannot be a priority right now. Instead, it should be the welfare of the people and the country which have been exposed by COVID.
Castries South MP Dr. Ernest Hilaire did not mince words in his assessment of the 2020-2021 budget. Dr. Hilaire said it reminded him of the infamously dubbed Coco Macaque budget. He noted that the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Allen Chastanet, had the leeway to suspend the budget, and under his extraordinary powers, he could have postponed the estimates of revenue and expenditure and seek consultation with stakeholders.
There is too much uncertainty about what lays immediately ahead of us. The Prime Minister himself argues that it is not wise at this point to make financial projections. Let me quote him in his address to the nation last Sunday, and I quote, "By September 2020, we will have had a clear assessment of the economic impact of COVID, and only then can we consider making permanent adjustments to our fiscal projections. We will hopefully then be in a position to begin our economic recovery efforts."
Dr. Hilaire says the financial projections in the estimates of revenue and expenditure for 2020-2021 are simply unrealistic.
We are still under a state of emergency. We still have businesses closed. We are not testing sufficiently. We are not sure if we are coming or going. So how can we reasonably have realistic financial projections? But here what is even more bizarre, even after having received the estimates for the entire year, we on this side are invited to join a multi-sectoral committee, which we welcome, with the objective of finalizing the economic stimulus strategy and plan. And it goes on, that will assist in the economic recovery of St. Lucia post-COVID-19. So these estimates, which are presented and provides expenditure until March 2021, is not designed to lead to the recovery of St. Lucia post-COVID-19.
Dr. Hilaire charges that under the budget, monies are being borrowed not to ensure survival of people during a health crisis, but for election promotion purposes and the delivery of UWP promised projects. The COVID-19 pandemic has had significant negative impact on world economies. Many analysts say the effects are only just beginning. The Eurozone economy shrank at the sharpest pace on record in the first quarter as the COVID-19 pandemic forced countries into lockdown. A first estimate of GDP between January and March showed a contraction of 3.8%, worse than during the financial crisis. Separate figures revealed a steep fall in economic activity in France and Spain over the same period. In Germany, unemployment has increased, though it remains relatively low compared to other nations. On Wednesday, the U.S. revealed that its economy had suffered its worst severe contraction for more than a decade after GDP shrank at an annual rate of 4.8% in the first quarter of the year. On Thursday, figures from the U.S. Department of Labor showed that 3.8 million more Americans filed claims for unemployment benefits last week. That is the lowest weekly rise for a month, but still very high, bringing jobs lost during the pandemic to about 30 million. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more after the break.